If you were no longer affected by the judgment of others and you stopped judging yourself, would you make different choices? Why make choices in your life based on judgments instead of on your awareness of what would create the life and living you desire? Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here is the host of Inspired Choices Radio Show, Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on A2Zen.fm.
Hello. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of Inspired Choices. And tonight we are talking about stop being the bottleneck of your life. And I have a special guest with me right across the pond, Mr. Mat Barber. And I'm going to be bringing him on very, very shortly. I'm thrilled to have him on. And he actually woke up. It's 1 o'clock in the morning where he is. He actually woke up just for us. How does it get any better than that? So we are going to be talking about all the things each and every one of us do to create the bottleneck in our lives. And we're going to be coming up with some pretty cool tools, I'd be thinking. So before we get into the show, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a possibilities coach. And what that means is I love working with individuals and organizations, big or small, to really have them expand and step into more of the possibilities that they desire to create in their life, with their bodies, with their businesses, with their bank accounts, relationships, children, whatever it is. If there's something that's not working, I love to see what we can do to create even greater. I am an Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator, a bars facilitator, radio show host, producer, and I'm the owner of A2Zen.fm. So how does it get any better than that? I love creating, and I love playing, and I love being in a world where we get to choose what really pops for us. And working with individuals is absolutely one of my most favorite things to do. My programs assist individuals and organizations to bring more possibilities to actualization. Now, while I do charge for my services, the first 5 minutes are always free. So why not give me a call? Send me an email, Christine@inspiredchoices.ca, and I'd love to speak with you. So tonight's show, stop being the bottleneck of your life. What are your choices doing to stop you from having the life you believe you desire to be creating? Do you get that you are often the only one stopping you or massively slowing you down? Would you like to create without plugging your bottleneck? My amazing guest, he's giggling. He's not supposed to be giggling. I told him to be quiet until I called on him. But he doesn't listen to me. That's okay. Mat Barber. Mat Barber was born in London, and he is a show-off. I think that's one of the reasons I adore him. But not in the sense that you have to show the world how beautiful and brilliant you are, but by being your true self. Your energy shines without any effort on your part, with total with an inclusion of the non-physical to inspire choice and the use of your own magic to thrive. His love of body work is a continuous journey, and with extensive training in voice and movement, he has worked for more than 20 years with clients that include the best of the UK's creative talent. Matt has extensive talents, and his understanding of body systems enables complex principles to be easily translated into practical, accessible tools for living. Matt is a member of the Bowen Therapy Academy of Australia, Access Consciousness, Bowen Association UK, and certified by the International Therapy Examination Council. And you can check out all of Matt at his website, moreofthatplease.com. Okay, everyone. I guess I dropped for a second. How's it getting any better than that? Matt, are you there, darling? Or did you go back to sleep? You are?
No.
Yay!
I am.
Wake up, honey, wake up. It is, darling.
I love the fact that you said if you go, you can check all of me out at my website, because at this time of night, it does have a kind of, let's just say, seductive air to the show. I'm just saying a little bit of it. I know what I'm doing. I'm picking up this vibe from the callers. I'm tapping into the energy. So although it's 1 o'clock here, it's like 8 o'clock there.
Yes.
I'm feeling an evening of sensuality, checking it all out.
Okay, are we changing the show? Are we going in a new direction?
No, we're just giving people inspired choices. they can choose where they want to go with that.
Brilliant. I like choices.
Yeah,
Eleanor in the chat room says it's getting hot in here.
Yeah, let's go there. So take off all your clothes.
Everybody, you didn't know we were singing tonight. We're singing tonight.
We're singing tonight. We're dancing tonight. We're getting the bottles open tonight.
Wow. Okay. So I just want to tell everybody how you and I met. So we were both in Venice in March of 2014 at an Access Consciousness class, and you were across the room, and you were a very rare character in that room. And there's usually a lot of women in the room, so the men are quite obvious, but you stood out. And there was something about your energy that was just so inviting, and you were totally being you. You weren't trying to be anybody else. And we were, after that class, I think there was a bunch of us on the terrace having dinner, and you were there, and we just started to laugh, and there was just a connection between you and I in the playfulness and the jovialness, and we continued to talk after that, and we've been quote-unquote Skype friends ever since, which I'm really grateful for. And what's really interesting, Matt, is that you pop in to my life at different times when there's something going on, so you might be a little aware. But every time you pop in, whether it's something small or something big, you and I just go so deep into some amazing conversations, and I'm really grateful that you have said yes to being on the show, because I love exploring with you, and I love looking at things where we stop ourselves and how we can change that. So I'd love to hear your input on what is it about being the bottleneck of our lives? What pops when you first read that?
Yeah, so I think you first of all, I want to say thank you, immense thanks to you and to everybody listening, because, as you know, we're talking about inspired choices, and just making a simple choice to tap in, tune in, turn on to something is an inspired choice. You could be, watching the Jerry Springer show. I don't know if you get that over there in Canada.
Yes.
Because it's such a good, anyway. So just you said the word pop, and I think it's exactly like that. We ran through a couple of options for the show, and it just popped. What tends to happen with that is that it's like there's this kind of non-physical communication that says, when something works for you, you're like, yes, that's the one. When somebody works for you, you're like, oh yes, let's not say that's the one, because then that kind of solidifies it into be the only one. But like this, yes, you don't need to question it. It just is. Mm-hmm. And when we were kind of talking, it was like, okay, yeah, that's the one. Immediately, when, we start talking about bottles, we think about alcohol, we think about, moving on. And it's this kind of, that's exactly what people do, don't they? In order to become more free, more comfortable, more liberated, more of themselves, they kind of open a bottle of whatever takes their fancy and a bit of Dutch courage. And one of the things that come up with this is, what if the alcohol wasn't necessary for you to say those things, ask for those things that you've been asking for? And there are kind of many layers to that. There's the stuff that we know we want, and then there's the stuff that is kind of, can I really ask for that? Can I really be saucy? Can I really be a bit cheeky on the radio? Can we talk about well, there's loads of subjects there that
Right.
we're not supposed to talk about. And then there's the stuff, it's almost like a floodgate. So you take the cork out of the bottle of your life, and then you start asking for things that you're comfortable with, and then maybe dipping your feet in the waters of the stuff that you're not really comfortable with. And beyond that, there's inspired choices where stuff just comes in and you're like, okay, there's no question, it's just ease, it's just flow.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, you can choose alcohol or you can not choose alcohol.
Right.
But there's no kind of necessity or having to drink in order to be able to go and talk to someone or go and make a choice, which inevitably, alcohol's a one-way street, really. It's only going to take you down.
Well, not that we're down on alcohol.
Not that we're down on alcohol at all, and not that we have any experience of that either.
No, not at all. Okay, so I have a question, because we're going to go to break in about 4 minutes.
Okay.
So what I'd love to do before we jump over to break is I'd love to talk a little bit about how we actually begin, what does a bottleneck look like? What are some of the choices we make that create actually that bottleneck? Like what have you done? I can talk about what I've done. What have you done, Matt, to create a bottleneck in your life?
Oh, us being born into this reality is the first place you start to create a bottleneck. Can I just also say that for me, one of the biggest indicators for when I'm creating a bottleneck is my body. And I tend to, if you think about your body as a bottle, the bottleneck being your throat. So when something comes up for me that is contracting my life rather than creating more inspired choices for me, I tend to get this tightness in my throat. Some people might relate to that as stage fright or not being able to find the words, or being with someone in a conversation and that, the conversation's a little bit strained. But for me, there's this kind of tension, this physical stiffness in my throat, sometimes even as much to say a pain in my throat. Right. So I began to start to listen to that and then look at what is that creating that bottleneck in my life. What I noticed was a lot of the times when I was unwilling to ask for something for me, I didn't want to offend people. I didn't want to be greedy, in inverted commas. I didn't want to be loud and a show-off because, I was continuously getting in trouble at school. So, Matt, sit down, shut up, and let's go to church as well, having to sit quietly. When you've got tons and tons of energy and you're always, let's just say, a little bit mischievous, you've got a little bit of an inspired choice going on in your head. And telling a child, like, if you've got children out there that are a little bit active, that telling them to sit down and shut up never works. But if you continuously enforce that within your children and you get told that, at some point you do begin to shut down. And for me, that shuts down my body, my voice, and bottlenecks, my creativity, my sexuality, my desire to be around people. It shuts everything down. Right. So I think listening to other people was probably the thing that caused the greatest bottleneck in my life.
That was the beginning for you.
Being forced to listen to other people's points of view about what I could and couldn't do.
Right. And just to really give, like, I have a different point of view. I have the point of view that we weren't really forced. We actually agreed to it on some level.
Yeah.
And you don't have to agree with that or not. I like actually having arguments, so maybe we could argue after the break.
Well, if you've had a drink, we can get a bit of a a bit of wine up in here. I'm willing to go anywhere, as you know.
I know I read that somewhere. Okay, so we are going to take our first break of the night, and we're going to come back with my wonderful guest and friend, Mat Barber, and where we're going to be talking about stop being the bottleneck of your own life. You are listening to Inspired Choices on A2Zen.fm, and we'll be back right after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
Are you a bold, remarkable, unmistakable being that has felt like you're not quite fully engaged and firing on all cylinders in your life, your business, your relationships? Are you ready to join a big movement to assist you in choosing your bodacious invitation to greatness? Choosing BIG is a 3-part event taking place January 14th, 21st, and 28th of 2016. To find out all the details and to choose your best year yet, visit the Facebook event page at choosingb.i.g, on the community page at b.i.g.livingnow, or email b.i.g.livingnow@gmail.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is A2Zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Okay, we are back. Stop being the bottleneck of your life with my guest, Mat Barber. Now, Matt, before we jump back into the conversation, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what you do and where people can connect with you. And I know that for all the listeners that listen to the show tonight, you have a special offer for them. So first of all, tell people what you love to do in your life and in your business.
That's brilliant. Thank you. So basically, everybody knows that there's change available. I'm not talking about loose change. I'm talking about change in their bodies, change in their relationships, change in their worlds. There's another possibility available to them. So one of the things that I really love, very similar to yourself, is working with the bodies, working with those blocks or those bottlenecks that people try to squeeze themselves into, and creating something that allows people more choice. And that comes in a variety of ways. I personally like working physically with the body, so touching a body, and I've always had this gift of being able to listen to bodies. So where there's a particular block, a particular lock, a particular held thought or point of view that manifests itself in the body, I'm able to kind of be present with that, be in question with that, and invite the person that I'm working with to also be in question with that. The other thing, we can work like that over the phone or on Skype, and just looking at anywhere that the person, the client, has chosen less for themselves. We don't always want to let that go. Sometimes we want to hold on to our shit, and that's totally okay as well. You can't force anybody to let go of anything that they don't want to let go of. I love what you said earlier about the agreement between forcing, on the words force, being forced to shut up, or being forced, and actually we make some kind of agreement. We kind of get bribed, or make a choice, not bribed, to agree to be whatever's being asked of by that other person. A quick example of that, which came to mind just during the break, was because you said, "Oh, we don't get forced, we get asked." And actually, my grandmother, I remember her saying quite clearly to me once, "You're so big, you're so bright, you're so bubbly, and one day you're going to be forced to walk in the gutter."
Wow.
And what came up just during the break is that the people in our lives that we love, that we family members or we have a special affinity with, we tend to kind of buy their points of view as a way of validating the fact that we love them, proving the fact that we love them. And when she said that to me, I was like, that's never going to happen. And then at some point down the line, you're like, oh, Nanny, I love you, and therefore, I'm going to prove to you that you don't know, that you know what you're talking about, and that actually you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Question.
Yeah.
Did you do that consciously, or did you do it unconsciously?
At this state in the game, I would say, as a child, you are completely aware. So I would say it's a bit of a truth with a lie attached. We kind of go there unconsciously, but are we ever really unconscious of any choice that we make?
On some level, probably not. Yeah, I think we may have... Are you there, Matt?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it just cut for a second. No, continue, please.
Yeah, I think that exactly. And you say cut. It's so interesting. And that's exactly what happens. We cut off part of ourselves. Nanny says, don't do that because blah, 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 blah. And we're like, I love you so much. She's got to be right. So we stop doing that thing that makes us feel amazing, or we stop doing that thing that creates a lot of noise, or we stop doing that thing that perhaps excites some kind of uncomfortable feeling in others. That it's just fascinating the way that we cut ourselves into pieces.
Yeah.
And also, we're going there tonight. Let's not. Let's get rid of those corks. Let's get out of the bottleneck. Yeah. Because, you say, I just cut there. And this is one of the things that I've also been aware of showing up. When we're talking about cutting, sometimes, the program you're working on, the telephone, may cut. There's a direct manifestation of that in your physical world. When we both agreed to, creating this show, we spoke about noticing, as soon as you agree to something, you begin to notice how that shows up in your life. So if you've ever, looked at being the areas of your life that are locking you up, are blocking you up, and you ask for, one of the access questions, what is this? You begin to receive the information that shows you exactly what that is. And then you have this choice to stay, keeping yourself locked up, bottled in prison, or to choose something else. We had a little mention about this when we spoke earlier, that since creating the show, I lost all of my backup drives. I lost all the information on my external backup drives.
How many did you have?
I had 3. 3 wonderful, playing safe external hard disks that are now void and completely. Well, I can sell them. Anybody want to buy a hard disk? It's bloody good to me.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say, one of the greatest spaces or places that I believe that we bottleneck our own lives is in the space of not looking in the mirror and seeing that person, looking into that person's eyes, and believing that that person can be or do anything that they desire. It's this space where we're looking beyond us, we're looking to other people, and we're seeing what they're creating in the world, but we're not seeing really seeing ourselves and what we can create in the world and beginning to choose it even when it's super uncomfortable. Today, I don't think I actually told you this, I was actually on a TV show today, Matt. And it was my second time being on this particular TV show. And the first time I was so incredibly nervous. And I've been talking publicly for years. But there was something about showing up in a different way. I'm not on radio and, I get some of the same silly women stuff, like everything has to be in the perfect space and place and all the rest of it, right? And today I started to get nervous when I first woke up and I went, wait a minute. I've asked to show up. I've asked for this. So if I had I could have called them and made up an excuse or created an insanity in my life so I couldn't go, right? But if I had done that, that would have been the bottleneck of my own life, because when we ask for something and then we start to create crazy around it, that begins to be the bottleneck, right? And so where you're asking for something, my point of view is pay attention. When you start to hit walls around that, pay attention. Are you self-sabotaging? Are you actually buying somebody else's point of view that you cannot accomplish what you desire? When people first said that I was going to go in, when I told them that I was going to go into my own business, there was a lot of friggin' points of view out there. I mean, you've done things. You travel all over the place. You must have had people say things to you when you made choices that they thought was beyond you.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just going to go back to, the people that are closest to you. If a random stranger came up to you in the street and said, blah, 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 and it wasn't, appropriate or fitting, or you didn't, relate to that, you'd be like, no big deal. But when your closest family members say to you, that's never going to work, you're no good at that, all your bum looks big in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're the people that we listen to, and more often than not, even though they're family members, there's this kind of conflictual universe between you and them because, I should listen to them, I should be the great son and really take your advice, or let's say for a father, for example, if you start to earn more money than your dad, it kind of becomes an interesting energy, unless you have a dad that's, not competitive at all and completely supportive. But if you have got a dad that's absolutely amazing, please, email us and let us know. But often, parents are just about creating that bottleneck for you, so that you, in their eyes, don't get hurt, or you don't break your bottle. There's a really interesting
that's so cool.
expression in London called, an East End expression about, having bottle, or he's lost his bottle. He's lost his nerve. He's lost his enthusiasm. He's lost his bottle. It's generally used. It's funny you should mention fighting tonight, because it's generally used with aggression. Like if two guys are going to go and fight, and one of them sort of chickens out, they say, "Oh, he's lost his bottle." So that
that's an expression in England. He's lost his bottle.
He's lost his bottle, which is the exact thing we're talking about tonight. Losing your bottle. Well, I wonder how much of that is when you lose your bottle, apart from the fact that the guy's 6 times bigger than you and probably got a criminal record, is actually an awareness of you actually really being aware that choosing to fight a great big ex-con, an ex-criminal, is actually not in your best interest. So
it'll create something interesting.
Yeah. We have a point of view that it's you're chickening out, you're blah blah blah, but it's actually, what if it was an awareness?
Yeah.
Losing your bottle. So everywhere where we've been unwilling to lose our bottles for sake of saving face, would we be willing to get rid of that, kick that out of the pub?
Absolutely.
Good. I don't know if the listeners are familiar with the clearing statement.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So let's have a bit of that. So everywhere you're not willing to lose face, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Good, bad, right, wrong, pop, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyond.
Great. Okay, we have to go for another break. This is flying. And when we come back, I want to look to some of the comments and questions in the chat room because it is blowing up in here. So you are listening to Inspired Choices on A to Zen.fm with my wonderful guest, Mat Barber. We're talking about bottles and necks and all things that are stopping us. When we get back from the break, we're going to get into the chat room, and then we're going to finally hear this offer that Matt totally forgot to talk to about. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
What if you really do change molecules by your interaction with them? What if the change you've been looking for is right before your eyes? What if the uncomfortableness that comes with difference could be fun? What if the closed-minded people of the world no longer determined our world? What if gratitude trumps judgment every time? What if your kindness healed the world? What if the earth is asking for your help? And what if you had the resources to give it? This is your invitation to step into something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Picasso, Da Vinci, Shakespeare, Aristotle all knew to be true. Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. What if there are no dumb questions, or any question too large? What if you being you are the gift and the change this world requires? Is now the time? For more questions to create a change in your world, sign up for a free video series at beingyouclass.com. My gift to you, beingyouclass.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Okay, we are having a great time here tonight with Mr. Barber from the UK, who got up just for us. How does it get any better than that? And Matt, you have a special offer for all of our listeners tonight.
Yes, I do.
What would that be, darling?
Well, I'll use a very English accent for everybody there, so they just feel they're getting value for money. So I have a 60-minute recording, a clearing that unlocks all those places in your body and in your world that you have been bottling up, all those places that you are not willing to look at. And basically, listening to this clearing, you can listen to it during the day, while you're at work, while you're down the pub having a drink, and that will work, to unlock all those places that you are limiting yourself.
Wow, thank you. That is super generous. So, do you want them to email me, email you? What would you prefer?
I probably prefer that they email me directly.
Okay, so and your email?
More of that, please, at virginmedia.com. More of that, please, at virginmedia.com. And I'll send them details of how they can purchase that.
Perfect. And we'll also put that, if you're listening to this recording, we'll also put that into the replay link in the A to Zen recording. That's phenomenal. Okay, so I want to get to the comments that we've had in the chat room because they've been very good. We just haven't been able to jump in. So when we were talking about, Matt, about the being forced or the choosing, Keisha had a great point. She said, I wonder if it's both. It feels like we are being forced when we are living it as a child, And at the same time, we have agreed to showing up in that energy and have some awareness we can tap into. And that just kind of feels really true for me. Like, and that was kind of what you were speaking to, that there, as children, we do have an awareness, but maybe there's something we've agreed to in showing up here to go along with that in order to change something.
What comes up when we start talking about that is, I'll use the same example now. My grandmother, who was the only person in my family who really was nurturing for me as a child. So she was very tactile. I used to, lie on her, cuddle her, sleep on her. And so it's those kind of, for want of a better word, that emotional kind of language that you have with people, that I suppose that is the force. It's not because as a child, if you scream at a child, 9 times out of 10, the child will have a reaction to that and start screaming or crying. Oh, Julie, don't do that. And if they really want to do it, they start crying or acting up. But when it's done less obviously, more subtly, they tend to be the areas where we make the contract. Oh, I really love this woman, and therefore I will buy into that lie. So the force becomes more subtle. And I wonder how many times in our lives are we manipulated out of our knowing by that kind of blindsidedness, or just if you, how many times have we done that? Where it's a brilliant example. We love someone so much, we're following our heart. Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, and following our heart actually doesn't always work out to be, a contribution to our lives. A couple of years down the line, following your heart means that you've got married and you've lost, half of your life. Maybe sometimes all of your choices.
Yep, exactly. Well, it's as if when we say I love you, behind it is therefore ... 1,000 things. It means this, it means this, it means this. And if you love me, it means this, it means this. And if I want that person to love me so that they'll do this, this, and this, then I'm going to do this and this and this. It's like there's all these contracts in those four letters, right? Eleanor goes on and says, they love us so they would not ask us to be anything other than being great, or would they? Interesting question.
That's brilliant. First of all, I want to say I like it when you say I love you.
Okay, I love you.
At this time of the night, and that just gave me an awareness of the way that that kind of intimacy and that kind of connection that you have with someone, when someone does say, you know what, Christine, I love you, and we really get that, we really receive that, and that's what kind of can make it a bit of a fixed point. We get that once, and it becomes a bit of an addiction. It's like, oh, where's how many times have you heard that in the movies? Where's that Christine that I fell in love with?
Well, I don't hear it enough, but continue, Matt.
Yeah, keep going there. Hello, darling. Where's that? And we try to go back and recreate. Yes. And as you know, we're living in 10 seconds, so stuff is changing all the time.
Right.
What was the question?
Wait a minute. Wait, can we back up? You said something there that really just popped. The recreating piece. So how much of trying to recreate an experience or I'm going to call it a dream, right, or a fantasy, how much of desiring or recreating that fantasy in our mind is actually creating massive bottlenecks in our relationships, massive bottlenecks in our creations, in our businesses, in our bank accounts, with our bodies. We have these fantasies, right, that we are operating from. And the fantasy may be, this person said they loved me 10 years ago. I haven't seen them for 9, but they must still love me. So I'm going to keep doing this to myself in order to that one day they'll come back and they'll say that. They'll do that. Wow, I just love that, how words just pop. Yeah, so was there something else? The foundation for bottlenecking is the crazies we build around it. That's pretty cool, Eleanor. Thank you.
And tapping into those crazies are exactly what you've just been talking about, and let's use wine. Why not at this time of night? You have your first glass of wine and it's amazing. It tastes fantastic. And then you try to recreate. You go back and the second glass of wine perhaps doesn't taste as sumptuous as, it's like, but the alcohol's starting to kick in at this point, and that's where the crazy is. So rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to change and drink something else, we go into crazy and think, oh, I know, I'll have a third glass, because then that will definitely make it taste better. And also, it might improve the conversation a little bit. Not that we've ever had that problem. And that's where the crazy is, exactly what you say. Doing, Einstein's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's like, I suppose if you've got an awareness that you're being crazy, is that the same as being crazy? Because that's where the fun comes in. Oh, we're doing this silly thing. This irreverence, we don't care because we know we've got no points of view about it. We can just have fun and play with it. It's not exactly the same thing as that kind of crazy.
Right. Well, I think, Matt. I mean, there's a way of being, I think, where you can tell whether you're being silly and the difference between being silly and being crazy. And the difference for me is, if it's playful and it's light and it's bringing me joy and laughter, that's one thing. If there's any kind of intensity or stickiness to it or an uncomfortableness, that's how my awareness of something that was a lie used to come up originally, was the uncomfortableness, or how you would feel awkward in a moment. That's the crazy, that's the lies. And I think when you're choosing something and it's creating anything, and I'm going to say negative, right? Anything that's heavy, anything that's uncomfortable, anything that is not something you would choose again, and yet you keep doing it, that's the bottleneck of your life. That's where you keep, it's in the choices that we create the bottleneck. It's not actually the things, the specific things. It doesn't matter what you do, right? It doesn't matter if you tell somebody I think you're a jerk, or you do a business in a certain way. That's not what it is. That's not the bottleneck. It's the choices that create the bottleneck. The actual outcome. Or I'm gone. I don't know which is true. So we're going to take our break now, and when we come back, we will get everything rolling back on. So stay tuned. We will be back right after the commercial break. Thank you.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
Are you a bold, remarkable, unmistakable being that has felt like you're not quite fully engaged and firing on all cylinders in your life, your business, your relationships? Are you ready to join a big movement to assist you in choosing your bodacious invitation to greatness? Choosing BIG is a 3-part event taking place January 14th, 21st, and 28th of 2016. To find out all the details and to choose your best year yet, Visit the Facebook event page at choosingb.i.g, on the community page at b.i.g.livingnow, or email b.i.g.livingnow@gmail.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Well, hello, everyone. How are we doing? Matt, are you there?
I'm still here. Hi, I'm still here.
Listen,
it's not over till the fat lady sings. I was looking at that foundation for bottlenecking, and that I just had an idea. That sounds kind of like a hillbilly picnic. There could be an inspired choice there. Loads of people. All right.
You're funny as heck. So don't allow the internet to be the bottleneck of what you're creating. So for some reason, the internet is just having fun with me. But you know what, Matt? I really appreciate you sticking around, and I'm coming back no matter what. So before we leave, because we've only got about 8 minutes left in the show. My gosh, this went quickly. I really want to talk to the listeners and give them some tools. If they find they're stopping themselves, or they keep recreating the same challenges over and over again, which really is a bottleneck to their life, what are some of the tools that you would utilize with them to begin to really change all of that?
Wonderful. In fact, as you began talking about that, because as you know, we've only got 8 minutes left for the show, so therefore, the thoughts, the judgments come in. I've got to cram everything in. We've got to get as much information in as the last 8 minutes, so that we make sure that everybody gets the right tool for them, and that everybody changes their whole life all in these last 8 minutes. And then I became aware of this bottlenecking. So again, my neck starts to get tight, my body starts to contract, and I think the greatest tool I can offer is for people to just tap into their bodies. So if, like you said, if something, you're somewhere, you're with someone, and you start to notice this contraction, just take a 10-second moment, look at what that is in your body, and ask, what is this? What is this? What do I do with this? Can I change this? If so, how can I change this? And the kind of tip for all of those is not looking for a logical answer. Tapping into that same contraction that you feel in the body. Ask the body to show you, hey body, what is this? Because if we try and answer it, you can say, oh well, it's because of this, because the wine was crap, because blah 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 blah, and then you're just moving in towards another bottleneck.
Right.
Just be with the body. Hey body, what is this? What do I do with this? Can I change it? If so, how can I change it?
I really like the pause, the space that you put between those questions, Matt. It creates a different energy in asking those questions. I've heard those questions many times, but that really does create something very, very different.
I'm getting all intimate now, and that's one of the things as well. To be intimate with your body. When you talk, when you communicate, when you share the truth for you, that for me is a real turn on. And so listening to that and acknowledging the fact that, not only the stuff that gets us trapped, but the stuff that turns us on. I can't talk about getting turned on the radio because blah, 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 blah. No, that's the truth. Those areas of our lives that we acknowledge, the areas of our lives that work for us, the more you acknowledge that magic, the more space, the more doors you open, the more possibility you have for that magic showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So not only looking at the stuff that contracts you, but focusing and asking for more stuff that turns you on,
To show up.
To show up. Let's quickly go with such a brilliant metaphor, that, the reason why we open a bottle of wine is to create that joie de vivre, that relaxedness, that, that ability to communicate and flirt and touch. We do not need to drink the bottle of wine to get there. Sometimes when I'll just have a smell of wine and I'm like, that's enough for me. The energy of talking about wine sometimes is enough for me. Having a bit of a flirt with you is enough for me. It takes me to that place where anything is possible. If we don't have that bottleneck telling us, oh, Christine, you can't do this, Matt, you can't say that. If that wasn't, a reality for us, and the fact of being punished for the choices we make wasn't a reality for us, what would your choices look like?
Yeah.
From the simple thing when you're at dinner and you're talking to someone and you've had a fantastic time with them, but you don't want to take it any further, you can say, hey, you know what, great, I had such a wonderful time, and you can say, let's call it a day there, rather than then, going to the conclusion that you have to take them on somewhere else, you have to invite them back for a coffee.
Right.
Just being like, do you know what? I really, really enjoyed being with you, but that's all that this is that moment, and it's not going any further.
This is that moment. So what you've talked about in a number of the things, I mean, we talk about awareness. And if somebody's really new to this, so for some reason this is really coming up, tap into what's working for you. Like truly, if we've talked about this before, like if money wasn't an object, truly what would you choose? And so if you didn't care what the other person said, or if they couldn't in any way hurt you or impact you, what would you choose? And I look at moments in my childhood where I shut my mouth, I turned me off. And because of what I was worried about rejection and being laughed at, and how I stepped into other people's choices for me, not the choice that I would truly have. Today, Matt, in everything that I'm creating and doing, every day I feel like I'm discovering more of who I am and what I love and enjoy. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you are enjoying it, you're in your life.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling stuck or frustrated or sad or depressed or angry, there's probably a bottleneck somewhere in your choices.
Mm-hmm. And also that place where you say, oh, I don't know what this bottleneck is, or I don't know what the answer, blah, blah. If we stop lying to ourselves and we said, if I did know what this was, what would this be? Yeah. If I did know, if I could create a question to create change here, what would that question be?
Yeah. We are less than a minute and a half left. Okay. I am so thrilled because in less than a month, I'm actually going to be in England, and Matt and I are going to get to see each other and go out for dinner and laugh, and we're going to philosophize all night long. We're going to drive them crazy. My poor son, he's going to be drinking. I can just see it. He'll be like, "Are you two done yet?" We're going to have so much fun. I cannot wait to put my arms around you, my friend. You are definitely a contribution in my life, and I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you showing up tonight and the wonderful gift you're giving all the listeners. Thank you ever so much. And all of the listeners out there that are in the local area, actually, if you're in England and you'd like to meet me, send me an email, Christine@inspiredchoices.ca, and let's see what we can create over there for a night. That might be fun, Matt. And if you're in the local area, I have a bars class coming up on February the 2nd, a foundation class in Sudbury, February 19th, and in Toronto, March the 11th, plus lots of other amazing creations, along with a 3-day body class by Juna Gooder on May the 6th. Thank you, everyone, so much. Tune in next week, and I can't remember the show, but we're going to have lots of laughs and maybe even some expansion. Thank you, everyone in the chat room. Matt, have a wonderful rest.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on A2Zen.fm. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.